You've been lied to about studying. Everything they taught you in school about how to learn is not just ineffective, it's actively holding you back. Highlighting textbooks, rereading notes over and over, cramming the night before. Hours spent staring at pages hoping something sticks. This isn't studying. This is the illusion of productivity. Meanwhile, there are students who spend half the time studying and get twice the results. They're not smarter than you. They're not working harder. They're working correctly. Today, I'm going to expose the studying methods that neuroscience has proven to be worthless and replace them with techniques that actually rewire your brain for long-term retention and deep understanding. This isn't theory. This is cognitive science applied to learning. If you're still studying the way you were taught, you're wasting your time. Let me show you the correct way. The brutal truth about your current methods. Let's start with what doesn't work. Highlighting and rereading feel productive. They feel like studying. Your hand is moving, your eyes are scanning, you're spending time with the material. But research from cognitive psychology is crystal clear. These methods create familiarity, not understanding. You recognize the information when you see it, but you can't retrieve it when you need it. It's like watching someone else work out and thinking you're getting stronger. The effort is happening, but it's not happening in your brain. Here's the uncomfortable reality. If your study method feels easy and comfortable, it's probably not working. Real learning requires mental strain. If you're not struggling, you're not encoding. Method 1. Active recall, the king of learning. This is the single most powerful study technique known to science, and almost nobody uses it correctly. Active recall means closing the book and forcing your brain to retrieve information from memory, not recognizing it, not reviewing it, retrieving it. When you try to pull information from your mind without looking, you're strengthening the neural pathways that store that knowledge. Every successful retrieval makes the next retrieval easier and faster. Research published in Science magazine showed that students who used active recall scored 50% higher on tests than students who used traditional review methods. 50%. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between failing and excelling. Here's how you do it. After reading a section, close the book. Write down everything you remember. Don't peek, struggle with it. The struggle is the point. Then check what you missed. Those gaps are your focus areas. This is studying. Everything else is just pretending. Method 2. Spaced repetition. Time as your weapon. Your brain has a forgetting curve. Without reinforcement, you lose about 50% of new information within 24 hours. After a week, you've lost about 90%. Cramming fights against this curve with brute force. Spaced repetition works with it strategically. Instead of studying something 10 times in one day, you study it once today, once tomorrow, once in 3 days, once in a week, once in 2 weeks. Each review happens right before you're about to forget, which forces your brain to work harder to retrieve it. This difficulty during retrieval is what creates permanent learning. Studies show spaced repetition can improve long-term retention by up to 200% compared to massed practice. Use apps like Anki or create your own spaced repetition schedule. The key is increasing intervals. Day 1, Day 2, Day 4, Day 7, Day 14, Day 30. Stop studying everything at once. Start spacing it strategically. Method 3. Interleaving. Mix to master. Most people study in blocks. All of Chapter 3, then all of Chapter 4, then all of Chapter 5.
This is called blocked practice, and it's one of the worst ways to learn. Interleaving means mixing different topics and problem types within a single study session. Instead of 20 calculus problems of the same type, you do 5 different types rotated. Why does this work? Because it forces your brain to constantly retrieve the correct strategy for each problem. You can't just follow a pattern, you have to think. Research from UCLA shows that students who use interleaving score 63% higher on tests than those who use blocked practice. Your brain learns to discriminate between concepts and apply the right solution to the right problem. Yes, it feels harder. Yes, it feels less smooth. That's exactly why it works better. Easy practice creates temporary performance. Difficult practice creates permanent learning.
Method 4. The Feynman technique. Teach to learn. Richard Feynman, Nobel Prize-winning physicist, had a simple rule. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. Here's the technique. Take a concept you're studying and explain it out loud as if you're teaching it to someone who knows nothing about the subject. Use simple language, no jargon, no complex terms hiding behind unclear understanding. When you get stuck, that's gold. That's exactly where your understanding breaks down. Go back to the material, fill that gap, and try explaining again. Studies in educational psychology show that preparing to teach material increases retention and understanding more than studying for a test. Your brain processes information differently when it knows it has to explain it to someone else. Record yourself. Explain to an imaginary student. Write it out in the simplest terms possible. Every point where you struggle is a point you don't truly understand yet. Method 5. Practice testing, the ultimate study tool. Testing isn't just for evaluation. Testing is studying. In fact, testing is the most effective form of studying that exists. The testing effect shows that retrieving information during a practice test produces better long-term retention than spending the same amount of time reviewing. Even when students get answers wrong during practice, they learn more than if they had simply restudied. Create practice tests for yourself. Use past exams. Make flashcards that force retrieval, not recognition. The key is generating answers, not selecting them from multiple choice. Research from Washington University shows that students who took practice tests after studying retained 50% more information after 1 week compared to students who only re-studied. Stop avoiding tests because you're afraid to see what you don't know. Embrace testing because it reveals exactly what you need to focus on. Method 6. Eliminate passive consumption. Watching lectures without engagement, reading textbooks without interaction, listening to explanations without questioning. This is passive consumption, and your brain treats it like entertainment, not education. You need to make learning active. Take notes by hand, which forces processing. Pause videos and try to predict what comes next. Generate questions about the material before you even start studying it. Studies show that handwritten notes, even though they're slower, produce better conceptual understanding than typed notes. Why? Because you can't write fast enough to transcribe everything, so your brain is forced to process and summarize in real time. Ask yourself questions constantly. Why does this work? How does this connect to what I already know? What would happen if this variable changed? Turn every study session into an active dialogue with the material. Method 7. Optimize your study environment. Your environment is either supporting your focus or destroying it. There's no neutral ground. Research on attention shows that every time you switch tasks or get distracted, it takes an average of 23 minutes to return to full focus. One notification can cost you half an hour of productive studying. Phone in another room, not silent, not face down, another room. Use website blockers. Study in a quiet space dedicated to learning, not your bed where your brain associates relaxation. Environmental cues matter. Your brain creates associations. If you study in bed, your bed becomes associated with studying, which ruins both your sleep and your focus. Create a dedicated study space that signals to your brain, work happens here. Temperature matters too. Slightly cool environments, around 67 to 70 degrees, maintain alertness better than warm rooms. The meta strategy, understanding how memory works. Everything I've shared connects to one fundamental principle. Your brain doesn't store information like a computer. It stores retrieval pathways. The more pathways you create to the same information, the easier it is to access. Active recall creates pathways. Spaced repetition strengthens pathways. Interleaving creates discrimination between pathways. Teaching forces you to build complete pathway networks. Traditional studying, rereading and highlighting creates the illusion of pathways without actually building them. You recognize the information when you see it because you've seen it before. But recognition is not retrieval. Tests don't care if you recognize the answer. They demand that you produce it from memory. So study the way you'll be tested, through retrieval, not recognition. The implementation gap. Here's where most students fail. They learn these methods, nod along, maybe even take notes, and then they go back to highlighting and cramming because it feels easier. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. You don't need more information about studying. You need to actually change how you study. Pick one method from this video, just one. Implement it completely for the next 2 weeks, not alongside your old methods. Replace your old methods. Try active recall for 2 weeks. See what happens to your retention. Try spaced repetition. Watch your long-term memory transform. Try interleaving and feel the difference in your ability to apply knowledge. The proof isn't in understanding these methods. The proof is in your test scores after you use them. Your competitive advantage. Most students will never watch this video. Of those who do, most will never implement what they learned. Of those who implement, most will quit after a few days because it feels harder than their old habits. That's your opportunity. While everyone else is highlighting textbooks and cramming the night before, you're building neural architecture that lasts. While they're rereading notes for the 5th time, you're strengthening retrieval pathways through active recall. The gap between you and them grows wider every single study session. Not because you're working more hours, because every hour you invest actually compounds. The choice is simple. You can keep studying the way you've always studied and hope for different results. Or you can accept that your old methods don't work and commit to methods that science has proven superior. Your grades aren't a reflection of your intelligence. They're a reflection of your study methods. Change your methods, change your results. The information is here. The science is clear. The only question left is whether you have the discipline to do what actually works instead of what feels comfortable. Stop studying harder. Start studying correctly. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these study methods are you going to implement first? Drop a comment below and commit publicly. Tell me what subject you're studying and which technique you're applying. If this video changed how you think about learning, smash that like button. It helps other students discover these methods and stop wasting their time on techniques that don't work. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I'm breaking down the science-backed strategies for success that schools don't teach you. Share this video with every student you know who's working hard but not seeing results. This could be the difference between them failing and them excelling. Thank you for watching. Now close this video and go apply what you learned. Your next study session starts now, and this time you're doing it right. I'll see you in the next video.